Greetings, my name is Aaron French, and I would like to talk to you about the inner journey and Ethiopia. First, some personal background. I hold a bachelor's degree as well as a master's degree in the study of religion, and I'm currently working on my dissertation and finishing my PhD. I focus on esotericism, religious mysticism, ritual, symbolism, and the ancient mystery cults. I'm particularly interested in ritual. I want to know how rituals work, how they function, what are they supposed to do. Rituals follow a set script that all the participants are supposed to follow, but at the same time, rituals open up a new space, a liminal space. And in this new space, something else often emerges. In the case of religious rituals, this something else is thought to be the divine. I'm also interested in pilgrimage and how making a pilgrimage can produce a transformative experience, what we sometimes call in religious studies a religious experience, which means that the person is changed in a spiritual way for the rest of their lives. A final area of interest is new religious movements and different forms of Christianity. These are religious groups that often have a different or alternative set of beliefs and practices to the mainstream religion, and sometimes develop innovations for new forms of spirituality. Now I will tell you about the significance of Ethiopia for me. When I was younger, I got interested in reggae music, and particularly Bob Marley. Through listening to this music and studying the lyrics, I learned about Ethiopia and the importance it holds for this tradition. It's centered around one of Ethiopia's most famous leaders, Haile Selassie I. Haile Selassie was connected to the League of Nations. He defended Ethiopia against Mussolini in the Second World War when Italy invaded. But beyond that, the Rastafarians point to a very special sacred text of the Ethiopian tradition, which is known as the Kebra Nagast. This is translated roughly as the glory of the kings, and it's a very old text that tells about the Solomonic dynasty. It contains an account of how the Queen of Sheba met with King Solomon in Jerusalem and actually produced a son together. This son, known as Menelik I, traveled back to Ethiopia with the Ark of the Covenant, as well as the famous ring of King Solomon, which was said to have magical powers. Interestingly, Bob Marley was said to have come into possession of this ring and wore it his whole life, but it mysteriously vanished after his death, and during his funeral he was not buried with it. It also discusses the conversion of the Ethiopians from the worship of the sun, moon, and stars to the Lord of Israel. It therefore has a very old tradition of Judaism going back to at least the 4th century. Also in 1984, a mission that is now referred to as Operation Moses transported by air over 8,000 Ethiopian Jews from Sudan via Brussels to Israel. This is something we will learn more about during the retreat. Ethiopia also has one of the oldest still preserved traditions of Christianity, which is an Egyptian Coptic form of Christianity, known as Ethiopian Orthodox. The only older tradition may be perhaps the Syrian tradition. This Ethiopian Christianity is based predominantly on the Gospel of Matthew, John, and Mark, and it is very mystical. It still contains a connection to the wisdom of ancient Egypt. This Ethiopian Abrahamic tradition is one of the only ones to still include a book called First Enoch, or the Scroll of Enoch, which for them is a sacred text. This tells a very interesting esoteric story known as the myth of the Watchers. The story talks about a group of angels that decided to rebel against God and descend to earth to mate with human women. These angels swore a pact with their leader angel, Shamyaza, and they taught these human women various arts and crafts and sciences. Fragments of this text were found among the Dead Sea Scrolls, which verifies the story's antiquity and authenticity. Ethiopia has the only fully extant version of this text, written in the Ethiopian language, Ge'ez. The Ethiopian Christians follow the Enochian calendar as well and celebrate Christmas on January 7th. Islam in Ethiopia is also a very important tradition, and it dates back to the time of the founding of the religion and the time of the Prophet. So why have a retreat? The point of the retreat is to produce a personal transformation or a religious experience. We hold the workshops to build anticipation in preparation for the retreat. As we know from studying ancient rituals, the more anticipation that surrounds the upcoming event, the more impactful the ritual will be. Getting outside of your normal environment and culture brings you into the liminal space, and this is where transformations can occur. One of the many themes we'll be discussing is how in Ethiopia, temporalities or different times are all layered and coexist, which means essentially that there is no time, or that all time exists simultaneously. Also, that these different religious traditions can coexist produces a very specific and special environment. You will experience the very old in a very new way, and this will change the way that you see the world in ways that you will never forget. I am also interested in going on the retreat to have this type of experience, and so we can learn more about these topics together. Not in a classroom, but in an actual living environment. I hope you will join us.